banned. I mean, he was unbanned. He might have been semi-limited. But he was still Blaster! Blaster! Burninating the metagame. Burninating the spellbook. Burninating all the Evil Swarm in their locals! Beating up 10 years of locals! Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. Time has not been kind to the daddies. In case you're unfamiliar, the big boys of bullshit back in 2013, the Dragon Rulers, have slowly regained custody of their children and are back in the picture. I've been rooting for their rehabilitation every step of the way, but the world's moved on without them. It's time for new daddies to step up. Presenting Dragon Ruler.
I think I need to start over. This thing doesn't look natural.
So here's the list. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course the card by card. But first, new affiliate PogChamp. Today we're talking about Figgyz. Alright, this one's going to require a little explanation. So First 4 Figures is a brand you've probably already seen online. They make these insanely detailed statues that are super high quality and also $400. I think these look awesome, but they are pretty far out of my price range. So as a response, they came up with a collectible for the broke millennial crowd that's affordable on an avocado toast budget without looking like that one funky statue company. The name is just not popping into my head. That product is called Figgyz, and they're collectible magnetic pixel art statues. They have a magnetized swappable backplate with a repeating background, so you can set them up how you like for a stream setup or a gamer dungeon. They're partnering with a ton of IPs, including some with like no good merch yet, which is nice. They hit me up because as part of their first wave, they're doing this thing in drops. They're releasing some Yugi ones. We got the Pharaoh and his boys, DM, DMG, BLS. They feel sturdy. They come with a wall mount. I should mention they're also $15. This isn't like a god card situation. Anyway, if you're interested, they're currently in pre-launch. So if you click that link in the description, you're going to get to a page where you enter your email. Then in early June, you'll get a message for an early access shop where you can enjoy 5% off your order, courtesy of yours truly. They wanted to give me 4, and I said, I'll settle for no less than 5. That didn't happen. I'm lying. All right, back to the video. So with that, let's deal with Dragon Rulers. The Dragon Rulers are a bifurcated archetype of babies, which can all be discarded with a dragon or their element to summon their daddies. The daddies do everything. Each one has 3 effects. They can be special summoned from the hand or graveyard by banishing 2 dragons. They can search the same attribute of dragon if they're banished, and 1 bonus effect that's unique to each daddy. Redox is Reborn, Tempest is Rhoda, Tidal is Foolish, and Blaster's a Pop. Not only are these cards independently powerful, their stat line is perfect for some of Yu-Gi-Oh's most notorious Xyz monsters. Historically, they were used for Dracosac and could OTK out of nowhere. Yep, the Dragon Rulers could have gone pro, they could have been somebody, but unfortunately in 2014 they tore their ACL, ended up on the list, and things were never the same. By the time they came off, Creature Combo and OTK wasn't a reason to play a deck, it was a prerequisite. Despite some promising setups, they've accomplished hot nothing since their unbans. But that might all be about to change. The Dragon Rulers were always wedded to specific attributes, but there were always 2 that were missing, light and dark. Now, over a decade after their first print, Konami has seen fit to release the light and dark babies into the format alongside their stepdaddies, big dragons that live in the extra deck, not the main. Nebulous, Dragon Ruler of Mishaps, and Spectral, Dragon Ruler of Fuckers, flickers, add some incredible consistency and recovery to the archetype, and the stepdaddies give them quick effect to negation, and every other ruler effect is a quick as well. This gives the deck a lot of options. While we've chosen to build toward the 10-star turbo that's historically given the daddies something to do, we've also built in a gimmick puppet-style lock, courtesy of Chasma's Redox's Reborn effect. Ideally, this deck will be protecting the castle, and it'll be a really big castle. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, the old daddies. 3 copies of Tempest, 2 Blaster, 2 Tidal, 2 Redox. We've got the new Light Baby. This card can be discarded alongside a light or a dragon monster to add 2 Dragon Ruler monsters from your deck to your hand except itself, and it can be banished alongside a light or a dragon in your graveyard to target a Chasmatist, Dragon Ruler of Auroras, and special summon it. Now this is a hard once per turn, and you can only use one of those effects per turn. Same deal with Nebulous, Dragon Ruler of Mishaps, whose 2 effects are to discard itself and a darker dragon monster, then target 2 banished rulers with different attributes, special them, but they can't attack this turn. and it can be banished from the graveyard alongside a Dark or a Dragon to target an Eclipsis in your graveyard and special summon it. We've got the old babies, 1 Burner, 1 React, and 1 Lightning, and 1 Stream, and Kashtira Fenrir, who is just a really good 7. After that, we've got the Bestials, who play nicely with this archetype, and because we kind of lack a normal summon and really want a 3-star tuner in order to access powerful 10-star synchros, the Rose Dragons. Red Rose Dragon, if sent to the graveyard as synchro material, can special summon a Rose Dragon from your hand or deck, and we're going to be using it to get Rox Rose Dragon, which on special can add a card that mentions Black Rose Dragon from your deck to your hand, here the Basil Rose Shoot. Finally, we are on 1 copy of Amorphage Sloth, which while on the field prevents people from special summoning from the extra deck, and Lechery, whose Pendulum effect prevents players from activating spell cards or their effects. Finally, we've got a Dragon Ravine, searchable off of our Romulus. We've got 3 Fulos, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyspring, and 3 Droll and Lockbird. Then in the extra, we've got Striker, Hieratic Seal, IP Masquerena, Romulus, SP Little Knight, Hieratic Dragon King of Atum for 6 setups, Volnifergis, the Darkest Dragon Doom Rider. There's a lot of 7s that fulfill this role. I think this is probably the most powerful. Double Eclipse Dragon Ruler of Catastrophes, which if Figgyz summon can target a level 4 or lower ruler in your graveyard or banishment. Special, a level 7 Dragon Ruler mentioned on it from your deck, then shuffle the target into the deck. And when your opponent activates a spell, trap card, or effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. Finally, Chasma, Dragon Ruler of Auroras, says, as a quick, you can send a level 7 Dragon Ruler from your deck to the graveyard, detach a material from this card. This effect becomes that monster's effect that activates by discarding itself. This is Extension, it's Reborn, it's Removal. If destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can special summon a level 7 Dragon Ruler monster from your graveyard or banishment, and then some powerful 10-star synchros here, Changing and Return 0. Ruddy Rose is really good into a very particular set of matchups, and Dispotter probably needs no introduction. In the side, we've got triple Lancia, 1 Talents, triple Thrust, triple Dark Ruler No More, triple Droplet, and a Sanctum and a Barrier. So with that, let's check out some games. Our first match is up against Fiendsmith Runic Bestial, a Joshua Schmidt viewer at heart. Our hand looks really good, and though our opponent has 1 piece of interaction that deals with us on our turn, we do have the Ash Blossom for it, so you're just going to have to watch this combo play out. We're going to begin with Fuckers and followed up with a Burner. Afterwards, we're going to summon from our deck a copy of Blaster, Dragon Ruler of Infernos, and activate the title effect in graveyard to summon it, triggering the effect of the Redox in order to grab us a Lechery. Let's overlay for a copy of Chasmatis. We'll use its effect and grab ourselves a copy of Nebulous as well. Next up, back comes the Blaster. We'll trigger the effect of the Tempest for a Tempest before normal summoning the Red Rose into a Return 0, triggering Red Rose for Rox Rose and Rox Rose for a Basil Rose Shoot. After that, we're going to go ahead and activate the Nebulous in order to summon 2 7s from our banished zone. One of those will convert into a Dispotter, which we will use to get the Spectral back to our side of the field and make a Romulus. Romulus will grab Dragon's Ravine, will activate Dragon's Ravine, pitching this copy of Tempest in order to send a copy of Sloth to the graveyard. Finally, we will shoot to get a Red Rose Dragon into a Hieratic Seal and a Lechery. That's no spells, soon to be no extra deck monsters, a bounce, 2 negates, and whatever Chasma wants to do with its life. As they go for something in the draw phase, we will activate the effect of our Chasma to reborn the Sloth. They'll go for a Lubellion here in order to grab a Bestial Magnamut. We will negate the Bestial Magnamut with the Arms of Genex Return 0, and they will make Lacrima. Lacrima here is going to dump a copy of Fiendsmith in Paradise. They'll go battle phase, and then because the Runic spell was activated, they're forced immediately into end. Haha, can't contest my spheres like that. They'll go for the Fiendsmith in Paradise off the summon of the Magnamut, but it doesn't convert into anything because they have no Light Fiends in graveyard, and we should just be able to switch guys to attack position here and win. Good game. Our second match is up against Tomb Keeper, and we're going second. This, I hope, showcases the strength of this deck's grind game, especially against one of the grindiest decks in the format. Our opponent's going to begin with Man. We're going to go for the cheap and easy Ash. Unfortunately, we are not rewarded. Terraforming comes down, and they'll go Treasures of the Kings in order to set a copy of Swamp Deity. Then they'll use a copy of Treasure in order to grab Circuit. Circuit effect here is going to enable them to grab a copy of Temple, then they'll activate Temple, enabling them to flip up Apophis the Serpent. They'll summon that, then afterwards they'll set another copy of Swamp Deity. We will Fulos here, so we draw off of the Silhouette Rabbit summon. They will go for it regardless, setting another copy of Serpent, then activating the effect of Lord of the Heavenly Prison, and passing turn. Not great. We're going to begin with the effect of the Spectral we top deck, and we'll grab a couple of cards. Afterwards, we'll go for the Stream in order to grab a title, and then the effect of the Blaster in Graveyard summoning itself. From here, we can overlay for a Chasmatis. We'll activate its effect into an Apophis the Swamp Deity. Okay, 1 down. Let's keep going. We'll begin with Title here. We're going to follow it up with a Reactin. That'll get a Redox into rotation as we overlay for an Eclipse. We'll go for Eclipse here into a Veiler. Sheesh, it's relentless. Okay, we'll go for Tempest next, summoning it, and go Red Rose into Return 0, into into Red Rose, into Apophis the Serpent. Still no big deal. They're going to set a Swamp Deity. We will summon out a Rocks Rose, activate the effect. They will Lord. We will return 0. They will Swamp, which gets them a sick play on our last remaining unnegated monsters. Down comes the Lord. They're going to set a copy of Infip, and we will just go combat. Let's clean up what we can. We do get a lot of the board gone, but still a lot to go. We'll lead Little Knight in order to banish the treasures, so I feel pretty good about that play until I see the top deck. Miserable. They're going to go for treasures. We do have to fight over this. We'll go Eclipse. They will go Infip. We'll go SP Little Knight to tag it out so it can dodge. They'll go Apophis. We will activate the effect of the Chasma to pop the Apophis with our Blaster effect. Whew. Okay, so we were able to stop it for the moment. Still, they do get to go for Divine Serpent Apophis, and they get to grab a copy of Embodiment. They'll activate the effect of the Divine Serpent to reset everything, and then afterwards they'll activate the Embodiment, summoning it, and triggering the effect of the Divine Serpent to pop our Chasmatis. Chasmatis will trigger here, which will body block at least. They get in for 15 and 16, which is way less than I would have expected, and after that they'll just pass turn. Now we get to play out of our graveyard. After the monsters come back from SP Little Knight, we'll begin with a Druis Worm targeting that Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Then they'll Apophis the Serpent and Apophis the Swamp Deity, both to body block and to perform a negation on both the Eclipse and the SP, so their later negation and interaction off the Divine Serpent Apophis will stick. Let's go combat first, then in main phase 2 we're going to go into a Romulus. Romulus and Druis Worm are going to trigger here. We're going to send that Apophis to the graveyard and get a copy of Dragon's Ravine. Tempest here is going to trigger, and because we banished a copy of Blaster and Redox, we can get fodder for that Ravine. Then afterwards, we can go ahead and activate the Ravine, use its effect, pitching this copy of Burner in order to send a Spectral, trigger the Spectral in order to bring back the Chasmatis, and then link off for a Hieratic Seal. Finally, we're going to go for a Title, overlay for an Eclipse, activate the effect of the Eclipse to bring back this Redox and tribute it for a Sloth. We'll pass back to our opponent. And the third treasure is, okay, this time we don't have to fight over it. We just have Eclipse and they'll concede. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. What is our opponent playing but Mitsurugi Ryziel, and get used to seeing this a lot. We're going to begin with Fuckers, and we'll follow it up with a Burner. Afterwards, we're going to go for the Blaster and the Title onto our side of the field to trigger the effect of the Chasmatis. Thankfully, our opponent doesn't have anything to interact with us on our turn, which is great news because this is one of those hands that would have just lost to Ash Blossom. We'll go Dispotter into Red Rose, into Rocks Rose, into Basil Rose Shoot, and then afterwards we can activate the Dispotter to bring back this copy of Spectral, link off for a Romulus, and trigger the Romulus in order to grab a Dragon's Ravine. Easy send here with the Fuelos in grip. We will send it to the graveyard in order to send a Sloth, activate Basil Rose Shoot, and that allows us to end on a Spheres as well. Pretty meager board, but does get it done. We're going to begin with a copy of Chasmatis in order to reborn our Sloth into a copy of Called By. Oh no. Well, the good news is that means this Droll is going to be online. They're going to go Saji. We'll activate Droll. They do still have plays. Ritual comes down. They're going to go for the Habakiri. They'll activate from the graveyard the effect of their monster and their spell trap, and then they'll activate Mitsurugi Ritual again in order to go into Murakumo. We can use the effect of the Dispotter to negate that. They will use the effect of their monster, to which we respond with Hieratic Seals. Afterwards, we'll trigger the effect of the Hieratic Seals and the Chasma because the remainder of our board was eaten to get a Redox and a Magnamut. Magnamut triggers here, and they will make a Typhon before going to the battle phase, walking over the Magnamut and passing turn. We'll return this Redox to our hand, grab a Red Rose, and we should be able to wipe this up. We'll begin with a copy of Spectral here. That's going to bring back this Chasma. Let's banish a couple for Tempest. Then Red Rose into a Return 0. Title here is going to enable us to summon out this Title and the Blaster as well before we overlay for an Eclipse. Eclipse summons back this copy of Blaster from our deck as we Ravine in order to send a Baldrake to the graveyard. We can use the effect of the Redox that we pitched for cost and go to the battle phase, getting over for 100, 16, 27, 28, and 31. These monsters are big. So it's time for game 2, and wow, Droll in the opener. Boy, do I love this format. Our opponent is going to lead with a copy of Habakiri. Habakiri is going to send a Saji from the field to the graveyard, then activate the effect of the Saji in order to grab the other spell, at which point we will flip the Droll and Lockbird. Show me the Called By? No? Okay. Mitsurugi Ritual for a copy of Habakiri. They do get to activate the graveyard effects here. They're going to recycle this Ritual and use it in order to go into Futsu, but that's the end of the turn. They're going to pass here. We draw a Fenrir off the top. Nice. Let's special summon the Fenrir, play a little bit around Droll. They're going to go for a Futsu. We will activate the effect of the Fenrir in order to banish it, and they'll get the Saji trigger as well for the trap. From here, we can go for Spectral, and they do Droll afterwards, which is horrifying, but we did already just draw 2, so no big deal. We'll go for Blaster here into Rocks Rose, into Return 0, into Red Rose, into Rocks Rose, into nothing because we're under Droll. Dispotter here, and we will summon out this copy of Title. Once we've banished cards, we can use Dispotter to bring back the Red Rose into a Changying, and Redox to trigger its effect. That's going to banish our opponent's last remaining monster and a monster from the graveyard, so we can go to battle phase and get in for well over lethal. So we're back with the deck, and wow, a Forfer! Been a while since we've had one of those. I wouldn't read too much into it. I think as people get less green on Mitsurugi, it'll start eating us alive. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, the end boards have super high ceilings. Depending on the grip and the matchup, you could easily end on multiple Omni Negates or unoutable Floodgates. 2. The grind game is unthinkable. If you survive to turn 3 or 4, you are winning. Playing out of your graveyard is an incredible asset, made all the more powerful by the fact that if the game state gets simplified, you can just attack. And 3, the deck is flexible. It can be played so many ways, like Tenpai, Bestial, or Rose Dragon, because the shell does so much despite being commitment heavy. And the cons. 1. Hand traps. All of them. You can play around Nibiru, but getting ashed on any of the babies, especially Aurora, really lowers your ceiling. Not every hand loses to Droll, but some do. And don't get me started on the Charmies. 2. Going second. This sounds weird to people who are familiar with the house that was the decade-old Dragon Rulers. One of the deck's big strengths was its ability to pick apart a board, but boards are better now. And 3, on that note, the way to beat a built board is to first use hand traps of your own. However, the card economy is rough enough for the deck that you'll still very likely not be able to make any plays going second because you've dumped half your hand to stop an opponent and the other half on a must-resolve flicker. All in all, I was so bullish on these cards at first read. The deck's flexible enough that I hope it'll surprise me, but for now, I think its weaknesses are too numerous for another 2014. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These 10-minute testings are made possible by, and occasionally suggested by, my patrons, some of whom have paid a fair amount of money to be mentioned at the end of the episode. Here they are: Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Ally, Anthony S. Sierri, APK, Burly Tier 0, Brett Henry, Cameron Noer, Cool Name, Damon O'Neill, Dark Rebel XYZ, Durpin Dragon, DJ Elefante, Emiliano Deverio, Envy Adams, Fabrizio Petroli, FPS Lord Derp, Garrett Ran, Hergalicious, Knight Mary, Legal Rights, Luis Hernandez, Lullaby of Souls, Matthew M. Derezzo, MBT Play Madolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho Gonzalez, Pombo, Project Mercury, Raymond GGEZ, Rohan Doge, Rose Lapine, Serpentax, Shelby Piet, Shifter.mp8, Sly Ninja 43, Soul CLG, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, and Yuki Kazami. Couldn't have done it without you.